Good morning, convening our Committee on Public Safety. Today is Wednesday, March 18th, 2026, 9:30 a.m. We are here in Conference Room 411. We have a smallish agenda. Chair just wants to remind the public that if you are on Zoom, please don't use any trademarked or copyrighted material, as that will bump us off of YouTube. I do not necessarily have time limits, but I encourage folks to share the highlights of their testimony. So that gives us time to be able to ask and answer any questions that might be necessary. My recommendation is that given the short hearing notice, we will likely defer all of these measures until the 11 a.m. Decision-making agenda. So no need for everyone to stay, but if you want to, you're also welcome to. So let's get started. First up, we have Senate Bill 2645 relating to fire prevention. This does a number of things such as eliminate the State Fire Commission as part of the process for selecting a state fire marshal, and then amends the positions that we had previously provided to the Office of the State Fire Marshal a year ago. First up, we have comments from Senior Advisor of the Office of the Governor.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Tori Nakata on behalf of Will Kane, Senior Advisor with the Office of the Governor, standing on our written testimony with comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have testimony in support from the Office of the State Fire Marshal. Testimony in support from the Hawaii State Fire Council, Sheldon Howell. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. Gary Lum testifying on behalf of the State Fire Council. We stand on our written testimony with comments on this bill. Thank you. Available for questions if you.
All right, thank you. Testimony in support from DLNR, Michael Walker, Statewide Forest Protector. I like that name. Is that your official name?
It's actually Protection Forester, but
You're listed as Statewide Forest Protector
Oh, wow.
in our notes. That makes you a superhero.
elevated me a little bit. So yeah, the department has submitted testimony with comments supporting the intent of the bill. In summary, the department is in favor of the amendments to Chapter 133, Sections 1, 2, and 4, but opposes the amendments proposed to Section 3, which would change the nomination of the marshal from the committee style to a governor appointee. And I'm available for comment, questions.
All right, Mr. Protector. We have testimony from Maui Fire Department. We have testimony from AIA Hawaii State Council, Melanie Islam, President. We have testimony in opposition or comments from Hawaii Wildfire Management Organization. Comments. Any other testifiers here or via Zoom? Members, questions?
I have a question, Chair.
Okay, go ahead, and please speak up.
Okay, sorry. Fire Marshal,
Not present.
Fire Council. I'm sorry, I don't know, that's why I'm asking the question. What is the connection between the Fire Council and the Fire Marshal?
Originally, when the legislature passed a bill to reestablish the Office of the State Fire Marshal, the State Fire Council was the lead agency to generate the position description for the State Fire Marshal, accept applications, screen the applicants, and select the State Fire Marshal that we have now. So current legislation right now is the State Fire Council is in a advisory capacity to the State Fire Marshal Commission. So this bill would change all that.
So the council advises the commission and the commission chooses the Fire Marshal.
Correct.
So other than that, does the Fire Marshal, you guys have any interaction together? Does the Fire Marshal utilize your services to advance their cause or their workload in any manner?
Correct. The State Fire Marshal is actually a member of the State Fire Council now. And we work together collaborating on legislation, testimony such as this.
And the State Fire Council are volunteers.
The State Fire Council is made up of all the 4 county fire chiefs, the state airport fire rescue chief, the DLNR state protection forester, Mike Walker, that just spoke, State Fire Marshal.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that education. It's unfortunate that the fire marshal is not here. Some questions for them. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any other questions?
For the governor's office. So you guys are submitting comments, but is it my understanding that you're advocating for it being a governor's appointment with that's your position? Is there but we just heard that the process of getting the current fire marshal was more of the council/commission.
Correct.
I
I would like to make a slight correction with your statement, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
For our testimony, we are in support of the overall intent of the measure, and it turned into comments because we are saying that we support having the commission remain the sole entity that does the appointment for the state fire marshal.
Okay,
Yes.
great, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we will move to Senate Bill 3083 relating to protective orders. Members, we've seen this previously. We have testimony and support from Kelly Mae Douglas, U.S. Defense State Liaison Office via Zoom. Go ahead, Ms. Douglas.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. Good to see you. Thanks for having me. And I'll send on our written testimony, but we're very appreciative of this effort and understand that there's been a lot of collaboration, coordination with the governor's office and the judiciary on implementation. So thank you again, and I stand by for specific questions regarding the Department of Defense's support of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. We have testimony and support from the judiciary. Testimony and support from Hawaii National Guard, Brigadier General Ross. Testimony in support from Military and Community Relations Office.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. John Green, Deputy Director for Military and Community Relations Office. We stand on our written testimony and support and available to answer questions.
Thank you. We have testimony in support from DBED, testimony in support from Hawaii State Coalition Against Domestic Violence, testimony in support from William Caron. Any other testifiers in the room? Any other testifiers via Zoom? Members, questions?
Is judiciary here?
No.
Can I ask
Yes,
Macro?
yes. Mr. Green, please come up.
Thank you, Mr. Green. You know, we heard this similar companion bill earlier. One of the talking points was the judiciary testified that there was a system in place that was accomplishing a lot of this paperwork and interaction and connectivity, and it wasn't I guess in place, and they were gonna try and see what they could do to reinstate it. Are you aware of that?
We've actually worked with the judiciary on amending some of the language in the previous bill, having worked with them in the past, and with the understanding that this wasn't statutorily obligated for the judiciary to do, so we just want to make sure that there's that collaborative effort that's in statute, that we can work with our component partners, the installations, the law enforcement on each installation, and there's a designated process in place that's followed. So yes, we have worked with the judiciary to amend the language to address that.
So you are aware of what I'm talking about?
Yes.
That's great to hear that you're aware of it and working to rectify that.
Yes, sir.
Right, okay.
You can stay there. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Green,
Yes.
I just wanna make sure, because I know that this has been in flux, does this Senate draft to reflect the language that the judiciary and your office has worked on?
I believe so. I think we have submitted the amended language
Okay,
to various council committees.
we probably have two bills moving, just in an abundance of caution, I'll probably move this one out.
Okay.
And then just do some tech amendments, and so just please watch this, because I wanna make sure that it has the correct amendments that has kind of been agreed upon by the stakeholders.
Will do. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, let's move to Senate Bill 608, members. This is a bill relating to veterans' rights and benefits and regulates persons receiving compensation for providing advice or assistance regarding veterans' benefits. We have seen this measure previously, and so this is the second go-around. We have first testimony in support from the Hawaii Office of Veterans Services. Testimony in opposition from the VFW Department of Hawaii.
Morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Jamie Shadell testifying on behalf of the Veterans Foreign Wars Department of Hawaii. We'll stand on our written testimony, respectfully requesting that the bill be amended to an HD1, which takes a language from the SD1. Language was removed that comports with federal law. So just some key takeaways real quickly. These companies are gonna testify today. Individuals are gonna testify today about choice. The questions that need to be asked is, are you accredited? Who's responsible if you file a fraudulent claim? Accredited veteran service officers are liable. If you pay a fee to a third party to file your claim for you, that party is not liable for a fraudulent claim, the veteran is. But I'll stand on the written testimony. There's some case law in there from Louisiana about the fee caps that have been allowed in the SD1 that has been deemed unconstitutional by a federal court in Louisiana, and that's probably gonna go to the federal circuit court for appeal. So pending any questions, I'll stand on the testimony. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scheidel. We have in opposition Veterans Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii, Mr. Carlos Santana. We have in support Veterans Benefits Guide.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, thank you very much. My name is Ryan Scalmanini. I'm a Coast Guard veteran myself. I'm also disabled by the VA. I also worked at the VA for 11 and a half years adjudicating thousands of claims. I understand this part of law very intimately. After 11 years, I moved over to Veteran Benefits Guide, where I worked for 4.5 years and still work as Director of Quality and VA Compliance. So I would be more than happy to avail myself to answer any questions about this process. As amended, we support. This will allow one more additional guardrail, which is a fee cap. Fee cap of 12.5, which is also running through the federal government as we speak and has passed many other states. If you have any questions, more than happy to answer them. There are a few inaccurate statements made by the opposition. We'd be happy to address those if you so wish. Thank you.
Thank you. We have testimony in support from Aloha Independent Living Hawaii. Testimony in opposition from Michael U. Sr. Testimony in support by Mr. Shelby Pikachu Billionaire. Are you on Zoom? You must be at another hearing. We have testimony in support from Mark Raposa. Any other testifiers in the room? Please come to the podium, state your name, and you can provide your oral testimony. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, Representatives. My name is Anthony Humphrey. I am a current military member, Coast Guard, and I am in support of SB 608. I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thank you. And sir, your name and support or opposition?
In support. Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, and members. Danny Hernandez. I am a veteran, 16-year veteran, and I am in support of SB 608. So I'll be standing by for any questions you guys have.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no other testifiers, members' questions. Representative Iwamoto.
For VFW, thank you for your testimony. Did you read the testimony from Michael Galileo Sr.?
I did.
And he stated he was in opposition, which is like your position, but then his arguments actually read like he was in support. I just wanted to, did you read the testimony the way I read it?
I can't speak for Mr. Gooley.
Okay, sorry, but maybe hit the wrong button. But I wanna ask you about the fee cap that's in this bill. Do you support the fee cap concept?
Fee caps, as a previous testifier testified, fee caps are allowed in certain situations. But in like appeals or attorneys that help with appeals, if there's a Veterans Court of Appeals. Those are permissible under federal law. For claims, initial claims, fees are not allowed, period, under federal law. So the fee cap has been preempted by a federal court in Louisiana. And their version, it's about the same language that's in the SD2. The fee cap has been adjudicated that the fee cap under state law is preempted by federal law.
Got it. And is there any data that you've collected regarding, you mentioned fraudulent claims. Do you have any data to show that, I guess, veterans who use a third or an advocacy organization submit more fraudulent claims versus people who don't use that service? Is there a comparison of fraudulent claim activity and it's higher with third party? Cause I would imagine, is it higher with third party?
I can't answer that question right now. I did provide some information about a case out of Puerto Rico where fraudulent claims were filed. I can resend that to the chair, to you and the chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Chair,
Representative Shimizu, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Ryan Scalmanini.
Your position was
Support.
support. So, I think in general, we're supporting and we're agreeing to the intent of this bill, and then I'm surmising that some of the opposition is maybe in some technical aspects of it, Could you comment on the opposition's concerns and because it sounded like you're very familiar with this situation.
I am.
Whether the opposition's statements and concerns had any bearing on this bill?
Yeah, sure. Well, first, Louisiana, the reason why that was determined to be unconstitutional was because it included attorneys. So that amendment is actually circulating through Louisiana as we speak, which will exclude those attorneys, and therefore that law will still then be upheld. As far as 14.627 and the definitions of what representation means, I'm gonna read this verbatim so you can, it's not my words, these are from the law itself. Accreditation means the authority granted by VA to representatives, agents, and attorneys to assist claimants, and this is key, preparation, presentation, and prosecution of claims for VA benefits. Representation means the act associated with representing a claimant in a proceeding before VA to a properly executed filed Form 2122. What that means is a power of attorney is granted to that individual to prepare, present, and prosecute claims before the VA. What does that mean? That means if I took power of attorney for you, I could stand before the VA without your presence and present claims, make decisions on your behalf, and prosecute those claims without your presence and acting on your behalf. VBG does not take power of attorney. We do not present, prosecute, or prepare claims as defined in 14.627. Therefore, representation and accreditation does not apply. Therefore, the initial fee and this idea that we are acting out of accordance with VA law does not apply.
So, follow-up question, Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
So based on what you're presenting, would you say that the opposition has a misunderstanding of the technicalities of what you just explained?
Correct.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions? And you can stay there if there are no other questions. I have a question. Aloha Independent Living Hawaii has recommended a narrow amendment that would add basically CILs to the exceptions list. Are you comfortable with that? And have you seen that language?
I'd like to see that language first,
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. Any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Representative Iwamoto.
So I asked
Yes,
the,
Vice Chair.
yeah, I thank you, I asked the VFW representative if there are any, is there any data to show fraud? It increases when veterans are represented by a third party, if there's more instances of fraud or less versus the two groups?
Yes, GAO and the OIG, so the Government Office of Accountability and the Office of Inspector General have commented on this in committees, both in the HVAC and the SVAC, and there is no evidence of fraud. I repeat, there is no evidence of fraud that they could find. However, they did find accredited agents and attorneys and VSOs in their diligence have misled veterans and acted as an agent without properly executed 2122s. Those were the findings that were presented to the HVAC and the SVAC 2 years ago.
So what does, I'm sorry, what does that mean?
There is no evidence of fraud that is in excess or different from whatever has been found in OIG and GAO findings, which is why the opposition couldn't comment.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. See, one follow-up question, go ahead.
Thank you.
Yes,
Jamie,
So VFW.
hearing the line of questioning and the answers provided, are you okay with that?
I can provide the evidence. There's evidence.
So you're still in opposition based on
Absolutely. He only mentioned one portion of the court case out of Louisiana. And that language was taken out of the bill last year, which is you cannot compel a business to do a statement. The other part of the ruling is specific to fee caps. That's been preempted in that court case.
last follow-up, Chair.
Sure, go ahead,
So
Representative
so
Shinsi.
based on this bill passing, is there more good in this bill that you would agree that it's a benefit to veterans and whatever specific instances where you're clarifying that it might not cover is maybe a minority portion when you compare the overall benefit of what this bill is trying to provide?
The bill, if passed, it'll probably be litigated as written. Because it is, the court has ruled that the language that's in it right now with the cap is and then speaking about what the previous testifier stated about accreditation versus, the law is very clear. He quoted it verbatim. Those companies are abusing a loophole in federal law to assist veterans. We're not opposed to them assisting veterans. We just want them to be accredited so that they're held accountable to the VA. Period. That's what the language in the SD1. They need to comply with the CFR. They need to comply with the US code. They choose not to. They have no responsibility. If that claim the veteran files is fraudulent, they can assist the veteran all they want because the veteran wants a quicker, their claim process more quick. But at the end of the day, they're not held accountable. Our accredited veteran service officers are held accountable if that claim is fraudulent. And I will provide the data out of Puerto Rico, which has some cases of fraudulent claims. The issue is accreditation, and they choose not to be accredited because they're abusing a loophole in federal law.
Okay, thank you for sharing your position. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I actually have a question from either Mr. Hernandez or Mr. Humphrey. Since you made an effort to come here, if you can come forward. You have a different position of supporting these organizations like VBG. Can you explain why?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It comes down to two things, choice and time. With I have a 22 years currently in, and I have a few years before I retire. And so when you get up to my age, you run into a lot of people who have retired, and the multitude of stories of how long it takes them in that transition to get representatives, so that's time, and then the result. Multiple times they're not being accredited for the proper things, and I love the VFW and I love the VA and I love my service, but they're overwhelmed and there's not enough there to support all the retirees and veterans, and having an extra other company to be able to fast track that and get it claimed, not fast track it, but to see it properly and not guarantee a result, but also not be paid out in a lot of instances if they can't help you any further. For me, that's a great choice.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Humphrey, I'm assuming that your testimony is similar, but can you explain why? And then can you explain if there are other veterans that you know of who also have the same kind of sentiment?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, sure can. Actually, I've told a lot of veterans about this company. Where I came from Arizona, just recently moved onto the island. I had issues with getting my knees looked at on my own. I did basically everything on my own when I left the military 2014. That's when I started my disability stuff. Throughout those years, my knees got worse and worse and worse, but I could not get them really looked at because I did not get compensated enough. Previous job, I had a veteran come to me. He's like, hey, I know a company that can help you out with that. They came on board, they looked at all my records, and I have the records. I have missing ACLs, I have torn meniscus, I have patellas that are misaligned, I have scars all over my body. So I went with them, they looked at my records, they went through the proper steps to get everything, and they got me what I needed. Now I'm looking at, here at the VA of getting surgery on my knee finally. So now I'm gonna be able to actually walk normal, go up Manoa Falls like normal, instead of hurting every time and not telling my kids that my knees are killing me, With that, I also told a lot of other veterans that were having the same issue. They were having a hard time getting compensated for all their problems. Sleep apnea is huge, IBS is huge, back problems is huge. In the military, we deal with a lot of that. Deployments, we have problems with foreign food. We get mixed and matched with sleeping. We sleep a lot of plethora of schedules that messes up our time, and that doesn't get looked at. Companies like this, they look into that. They take care of you, and that's why we support it, or that's why I support it, because they actually do look out for the veteran.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? Seeing none, members, great discussion. Let's move on to Senate Bill 2054 relating to public safety. This would prohibit the Hawaii National Guard from deploying to assist federal troops, federal law enforcement, or the National Guard of any other state operating in Hawaii where the governor has objected to the deployments. We have first up opposition from the Hawaii National Guard.
Yes, good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Brigadier General Retired Neil Mitsuyoshi. The department stands on its testimony in opposition, and I'm prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. We have testimony in support from Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Comments from Hawaii Military Affairs Council. Testimony in support from ACLU of Hawaii via Zoom.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Mandy Fernandez on behalf of the ACLU of Hawaii. We support this measure. The Trump administration has federalized state National Guard troops in multiple states against the governor's objections, and these actions were largely justified as necessary to protect federal property. It's imperative that we act right now to prevent this happening in Hawaii, especially with the unique history of colonization and military bases in our land. This would pit state national troop members against their own communities where they live and serve. We've heard concerns from the Hawaii National Guard. I understand that they feel this would put them in a difficult position, requiring them to choose which order to disobey. But that's not an accurate characterization of what's happening with this bill. We have seen large-scale civil and human rights violations on the continent, especially in jurisdictions where troops have been deployed. And yes, troops generally have a duty to obey orders of their superiors. They also have a sworn duty to disobey unlawful orders. If anyone is putting our state National Guard troops in a difficult position, it's the federal administration. None of us want to be in this difficult moment, but here we are. This bill, in many ways, makes things easier for the state National Guard troops, as they don't have to make this legal analysis of lawfulness of their orders on their own. They have the partnership of the governor, and that offers them more cover to disobey unconstitutional orders from the federal administration. We're available for any questions, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Fernandez. We have testimony and support from the MUA Alliance, support from the Libertarian Party of Hawaii, support Roots Reborn Maui, support Legal Clinic, support Unite Here Local 5, in support Hawaii Filipino Lawyers Association, in support League of Women Voters of Hawaii. We have testimony from an individual in support Christine Andrews, Juris Doctor via Zoom. Go ahead, Ms. Andrews.
Aloha, thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'll stand on my written testimony and just reiterate for the people here on Maui, where we had the support of the National Guard during the wildfire disaster, maintaining our relationship with the National Guard, that sense of trust and community just underscores the importance of this measure for us here on Maui. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Andrews. We have numerous we have testimony and support from Matriarchy Rising and Kona Indivisible. We have numerous testimonies in support from individuals. I'm not going to read all of the names, but I do want to comment that we have received them. Is there any testifiers in the room? Any testifiers via Zoom? Okay, seeing none, members, questions? Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you. For the ACLU of Hawaii.
Sure. Hi, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Have you had a chance to read the Attorney General's testimony on this bill?
I have not.
Okay.
Last hearing.
She cites, the AG's testimony cites constitutional concerns. Do you, you often, the ACLU of Hawaii often cites the Constitution as a means to protect the civil liberties of citizens and residents, but you didn't have a chance to. Will this, in your opinion, I guess as a advocacy and a litigation organization, will this stand the constitutional test?
I believe so. I think that we believe that the governor has the authority to do this.
Okay, so this would just codify the authority that the governor, this is not simply codifying with the authority the governor has, it's giving new powers.
Yes, we believe that we can, but we believe the legislature can authorize those powers.
Got it. So also, I guess my concern is so I served on the Board of Education when we had a Republican governor and so if in the future, if we have a governor who happens to be aligned with a federal agency in the future, will that then make it worse for Hawaii in the same way that we're giving this added authority?
I do think, that's a policy consideration for the legislature, right? So right now, this is, it's not a partisan bill. This would apply in times where we have a Democratic governor, Republican governor, and it would prevent deployment of the state National Guard over the governor's objections, regardless who the governor is. There have been additional safeguards that were put in by, I believe, the Senate Judiciary Committee to make sure that there is adequate justification for the governor's objection. And it might be, I believe so there are additional safeguards put in. But you're right in that this is kind of a viewpoint neutral bill.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Representative Shimizu.
Hawaii International Guard. Yes, sir.
Please speak up, Representative Shimizu.
Sorry, your position was in opposition, correct?
That's right.
My question, and I'm not sure if you know the answer to this, but if the governor blocks federal cooperation, if the state has financial responsibilities that they now incur because of the decision to not cooperate with federal?
So that Representative, thank you for the question. It's complicated. So I think first you must understand that there's different titles that the National Guard supports the state on. So there's Title 10, which is a federal authorization, and that's dictated by the president, where we're federalized. In that case, the state has no control, right? The federal government is in control. That's similar to what was done in California, and later the courts had ruled, the Supreme Court ruled that it was improper use of federalization of National Guard troops. The second status would be Title 32. In the status of Title 32, we're federally funded, but we're under the command of the governor. So in Title 32, whenever we support like disasters, the governor has to agree to that or request that. And so we can never be on a Title 32 status without the governor's approval. And that is in United States Code, Title 32. And then there's state active duty where the state's 100% in control because the governor is in control of the troops and it's 100% state funded. So the concern that we have with this bill is it seems redundant because the governor already has the control to not put the Guard on Title 32 status. He controls it. Without his authority, we don't go on status. And when we are on status, he's in command.
Okay, go ahead. Representative Iwamoto, go ahead.
Thank you. So are you saying one way then to obfuscate the current presidents, if they tried to commandeer the National Guard in Hawaii, would to have them preempt that ability by making sure the governor assigns the National Guard to a local emergency? So there are no troops available to be
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that the governor already has that. We can't go on a Title 32 status without the governor's authority, without the governor's request. So the reason why we think the bill is redundant, and it could cause these things that we don't know, unintended consequences, is what we're concerned with, because ultimately courts rule, right? So just like in the California situation where they were federalized, but then later on the courts then ruled, the Supreme Court in fact then ruled that it was improper use. And now technically, there could be situations where there could be liability. Fortunately, I don't think there are any cases where they were, there's liability now on those people that followed those unlawful orders. But you can see how it could work in reverse. What if the court won, right? So you never know what's gonna happen. But to me, courts decide. It puts the Guard in a very challenging position when we're not in the position of obeying lawful orders.
Well, then the argument would be that this codifies what the Supreme Court has held, right? I mean, and so to me, it's sending a clearer message, because I think we heard from Maui that the potential for the National Guard to be used politically by the federal administration in a way to build distrust among the Hawaii residents would be damaging. So we are saying let's codify this to protect that kind of damage of relationship.
Right, it's the status. So the federal authorizes the National Guard in Title 10 status. And the state has no control when it's in Title 10 status. This bill only talks about Title 32 status or state active duty, which in that status, the governor has complete control over the activation of National Guard troops and complete command of National Guard troops.
Sure.
Any other questions? Follow-up, Representative Shimizu.
Thank you. I don't understand your response to my first question about whether if the governor blocks federal cooperation, will the state be liable for federal funding? If you know the answer to that. I wasn't clear what the answer was to that.
So that's a little odd because when they're on Title 32, they're federally funded, but the state is asking them to be, the governor has asked them to be here, and that's why they're getting the federal funding for the payment of those soldiers to be on there. And if the governor didn't want it, then he wouldn't ask and they wouldn't get federal funding. So I'm not sure exactly what you're asking.
I guess that question might have more complications than a simple yes or no. So from what I'm hearing from you is that Title 32, which the governor has complete control over the National Guard, is federally funded. So there is that provision and connection to federal funding, and it is a possibility. I mean, I would think there is a possibility that federal funding could be withheld if there's some sort of uncooperation or disagreement on federally requested use of the guard, which if the governor decides to not cooperate.
So if you could give me an example that you're thinking of, but my thought is that usually when we want that federal funding for those soldiers that are on Title 32, it's because the state has a need, and then the state will use the National Guard to provide, you know, some kind of operational support to, say, a disaster, without the state having to pay for the Guard's response. If the governor didn't want something, which, you know, this bill says we wouldn't provide support if the governor was opposed to it, we wouldn't even be on orders because the governor would have had to authorize us to be on status.
Right. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your
Stay
help.
there, and Ms. Fernandez, if you can stay there for a little while as well. Thank you for explaining the various titles under which the National Guard is activated, because I think this is a really important distinction that might not have been clarified as this bill has moved through the process. Is there anything, if this was just limited to Title 32, and as you say this is redundant, is there anything in this current Senate Draft 2 that needs to be stripped out to make it sure that we're really redundant?
I think at the bare, you know, one of the things we definitely would not want in the bill is that citing on property, equipment, and facilities.
Okay.
Because those are owned, a lot of those are owned by the federal government anyway, and we just use those.
We use them as a courtesy as a National Guard.
That's right.
Okay.
But the federal government owns it, the state doesn't own it.
When you talk about the case, the Title 10 case and the California situation, are you talking about the Newsom v. Trump case law?
Yes.
Okay. General, I don't want to put you on the spot because I know you're not a lawyer and you probably have lawyers who advise you, but can you talk a little bit about that? And if you can't, I'm going to actually ask Ms. Fernandez to comment on the Newsom v. Trump.
Yeah, so I know it can be confusing because people saw National Guard members supporting California. But in that case, those National Guard members were not on Title 32 status, they were on Title 10 status. They were federalized. The president had complete control, the governor didn't have control, and therefore the president didn't need the governor's permission to put those members in the state. But of course, later on, the Supreme Court, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they ruled that it was improper use of federalizing those troops.
And it was improper use of Title 10.
Right, and right, basically, right. But that's completely different, right? Because we're talking about Title 32, which is a different status from Title 10.
Okay, thank you. Can I follow up with Ms. Fernandez? Sure. And you can sit down or you can stay there, that's fine, General, whatever you want to do. Ms. Fernandez, are you familiar with the Newsom v. Trump case?
A little bit. I'm having trouble following along just verbally hearing everything, but I'm happy to do more research on this and follow up with you in an email or a memo.
This bill is going to judiciary, so I think this is an issue that needs to be looked into, so I would appreciate it. But if you can comment at all on Newsom v. Trump and what the criteria were or what the reasons were that SCOTUS decided that the federalization under Title 10 at that point had been illegal.
Mm-hmm. No, I really want to get it exactly right, and so I can, I'll just can I follow up with the chair?
Yes.
And I'll also include the chair of judiciary.
Okay, I think that's a really important thing because I think we have to understand under what authorities the state National Guard is being enacted. And from my understanding, as I read the testimony of Department of Defense, which I don't think is actually the Attorney General. Just to correct Vice Chair,
Sorry.
there was no testimony actually from the Attorney General.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, I was really
Sorry, I thought I read
Yes.
that. My apologies to the Attorney General
Yes.
and to you, Mandy.
It was the Department of Defense, which was probably
Oh.
vetted by an Attorney General, but
Sorry.
not the Attorney General,
Thank
so there's
you,
a little bit
thank
of a
you.
difference.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering what.
Sorry. Secret memo.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think the concern I have, Ms. Fernandez, and I think you need to look into this, is that there is one instance in our, at least one instance, in our nation's history where Title X was used. And it was in a situation where I happen to agree that that might have been an appropriate use. It was used in order to ensure that young African-American children could go to school. Now, flip that situation here, and you could see a scenario where we might have a governor who is in alignment with a decision by a federal administration. So are we overlooking unintended consequences? And I just really want to get this bill right. I want to make sure that it is redundant with the Title 32 obligations. But I don't know that if under Title 10, if this is expansive to Title 10, what the problems are. And that's why we need to understand Newsom v. Trump. Because the SCOTUS should have provided the state's guidance as to when Title 10, and what are those reasons maybe that a state could then rely upon to say that we could disregard a Title 10 order, right? So
Yeah.
you see where I'm going?
Yeah, totally. I think those are reasonable concerns. I can look more into it. I know there's a lot of federal law at play. You have the the Armed Forces Reserve Act, you have the Insurrection Act, I will follow up with you as soon as possible, by the end of this week, and look more into it. But I think that what I 100% see and think, your concerns are reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what I would also comment on and say is that the erratic nature of this administration, and if they were to use the Insurrection Act because of voting concerns, that could be something that we could have strong disagreement about, and where we might want to step in as a state and then put guardrails around the Title X authorities. And I know this might be giving heartburn to our Hawaii National Guard, but that is precisely, I think, the concerns that we're addressing from individuals who are coming and watching this from groups like Indivisible Hawaii, because they're afraid of the slide into authoritarianism that we are facing, which is very different from the situation in the civil rights era where we were actually protecting civil rights.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you, Chair. There is, I think, the opportunity to sunset the
Okay,
bill.
thank you. I think this is a really important measure, so I think we should keep working at it. And thank you, Ms. Fernandez. And I will direct these same questions also to the military attorneys that we have standing by. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just wanted to thank the chair for correcting me about the AG, I was misreading that, that it wasn't the AG's testimony. And in fact, yes, it was the Department of Defense of the state of Hawaii. So I apologize to the Attorney General and to this committee and to Matthew Fernandez. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, members, we are going to recess until 11 a.m. We will take up all of these matters for decision-making on our 11 a.m. agenda. Thank you for your good work and your time. We are in recess. Good morning. Reconvening or opening our 11 AM agenda for Committee on Public Safety and reconvening our 9:30 AM agenda from this morning. Right, we're gonna jump into decision-making on our 9:30 AM agenda, starting off with Senate Bill 2645, members relating to fire prevention. Chair's recommendation is going to be to reinstate the commission process that was eliminated, so this is consistent with the governor's request. Any technical amendments identified for HMSO for clarity. Those three things, clarity, for clarity and consistency and style. Clarity, consistency and style, and is this Representative Ashton coming in? Yes. Changing the defective date to July 1st, 3000. And I believe that is it. Members, comments, questions, or concerns?
Thank you, Chair, for putting that election process back in.
Thank you. Seeing that we have a full house, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on SB 2645 SD3. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair voting aye. Representative Hashem.
Aye.
Representative Ichiyama. Representative Morikawa.
Aye.
Representative Poi Poi.
Aye.
Representative Woodson. Aye. Representative Shimizu.
Aye.
Representative Souza.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, moving on to Senate Bill 3083 relating to protective orders. Chair's recommendation is to change this to HD1 just to further defect the date and continue to move this along. As was testified, I believe this captures the agreed to amendments, but I just want to make sure that we do have that as we move forward. So Chair's recommendation is to change this to a defective date of July 1st, 3000. July 1st, 3000. Comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on SB 3083 SD2, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting that all members are in attendance, are there any members wishing to vote no? Any members wishing to vote with reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Moving on to Senate Bill 608. Lots of discussion on this, members. I understand that there is a lot moving through in terms of court litigation that's going on. We could not delve into that. This does have a CPC and a JHA referral. So what I'm gonna do is to move this along with the recommendations from Aloha Independent Living Hawaii, which further protects another group of nonprofits that do work with veterans, I believe consistent with the federal framework. Any technical amendments identified by HMSO for clarity, consistency, and style, further defect the date to July 1st, 3000, and to allow this to continue along for conversation. Make sure the defective date is correct. July 1st, 3000. Questions, comments, or concerns, members? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Okay, voting on SB 608 SD2, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments. Noting that all members are present, are there any members wishing to vote no? Or with reservations? Seeing none, Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Members, moving to Senate Bill 2054, this is related to public safety and the deployment of the National Guard under various federal frameworks. Chair's recommendation is to strike from page 2, line 11, the phrase facilities, property, equipment, because those are federally owned assets that would not be able to be actually caught up in any kind of our constraining use of it. Chair's recommendation is further to defect the date of July 1st to July 1st, 3000. This measure is important as we see the changing federal landscape. as well as the federal changing court positioning of various titles. Most interesting to me, and what we need to do a deeper dive in as we move into JHA, is the implications of Newsom versus Trump that was recently opined by SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, and whether there is any guidance in that that can help improve this bill so that we can, in fact, protect the assets and use and people who are the responsibility of this state. Okay, so again, my recommendation is to strike that phrase and to include a defective date to continue the conversation. Members, questions, comments, or concerns?
Chair, that was a good strike, I agree with that. I'm gonna support the Hawaii Air National Guard's opposition and will be voting no on this.
Appreciate that comment, and I say this is really complicated area of law. We're in area that is new, very new and novel, but it is, I think, a responsibility for us to be acting under our state and federal constitutions to see if we can strike the right balance with state legislation. So thank you, Representative, for your comments.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Representative Souza.
Thanks, Chair, for your amendment, and I'm in support of this measure. And I just want to make really clear that a lot of the bills that we have pushed forward, similar to this one, that deal with federal and state autonomy is really important, because I think it's the very principle of federalism, which is my Republican background, that there is that separation of federal government and state government, and maintaining our state sovereignty is really important. And I do think that this is what this bill aims to accomplish, just like the others that were similar. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, Vice Chair for the vote.
Voting on SB 2054 SD2, Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments, noting that all members are present, also noting the no vote from Representative Shimizu. Are there any others wishing to vote no on this bill? Any others wishing to vote with reservations? Seeing none, your recommendation is adopted, Chair.
Thank you. Members, moving to our 11 AM agenda, Senate Bill 3240 SD1. I want to start off by saying just thank you to the public that weighed in, to the stakeholders and the entities that weighed in, and then to our staff and to the chief clerk staff that really had to make sure that we could capture all of the testimony and the robust diverse opinions about this bill. Given the number of testimonies that have come in, the current situation with our fiscal how should I say this, hardships, we have to start making choices about what to fund. And while there might be elements that are good in this, I do think that the federal government has more resources that may be able to be used for this. There are also other resources in the community that I know are stepping forward. So for those reasons, Chair's recommendation for Senate Bill 3240 SD1 is to defer. Comments, questions, or concerns?
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
All right, seeing no others, thank you all members. We have a hearing on Friday. We might have a hearing the following Wednesday for resolutions, but that might be the conclusion of our work, which I'm really sad about. But yeah, because that takes us all the way through resos and Senate bills. All right, so just putting those on your calendars, members. Have a great weekend. Please stay dry as the weather continues to move through our state. On that note, we are adjourned. Thank you.